All right, welcome back to Danks Code Traders Hub. Yes, and this is the BTC session where we analyze BTC, only BTC. And normally we do this for around 30 or less than 30 minutes when we are doing the analysis of BTC. So I want to welcome everyone. If it is your first time here, please go ahead and subscribe. And of course, if you want to, that is if you want to. We have a lot of content already, a lot of other analysis sessions we've had. We are on episode number 56 of BTC, and of course the synthetic indices, we are in 183 currently. That is so far where we've reached. We are yet to, I think we're about to reach, I think we've already made a year analyzing. I want to check in my records and see, but we are soon celebrating a year of YouTube analysis. Yeah. So without any further ado, as usual, you know how we do this. We're going to analyze BTC, see what is happening. To give you an overview, last week we hit the all-time high. Yeah, I think it was last week. I'm going to check and confirm. Yeah, we hit the all-time high around 120 plus K. Yeah, 120K plus. That's where we head to. That's where we reached as far as BTC price or value is concerned. So let's now get into it and look at what is happening. All right, so the previous analysis we did, we were within here. We were within this falling wedge, and we needed price. We were anticipating price to at least come back here before it can actually continue, but it never did. It had already mitigated that fair value gap, so all this can now be taken out. So we saw that working out well. So we had already that happening, so delete that. All right, so this is on daily time frame. So we saw this. Remember, our weekly time frame looks like this. This was the analysis. So before we never had this break of structure. So we were still contemplating price was still being held up by this level. So it was not giving us a break of structure. So for the first time in about a year, we saw a break of structure. The previous time we saw a break of structure, it was here. This is when we last saw a weekly break of structure. This one here. This was when last year around March. Yeah, no, not March. Around November. So almost a year. So not yet a year, but yeah, almost last year in October. That's when we last saw a break of structure on the weekly time frame. This right here was not a break of structure. This one right here, it was just a week. So yes, was it yesterday? Last week. Towards the end of last week, it's when we saw the break of structure right about there. So that tells us that now we can now continue to anticipate buys. So before, we were now looking at price failing to break this high and probably coming all the way back for this kind of a retest. We had retest points like that. Now I can take actually these out. I can delete these. So we had retest points like this, right there, the fair value gap, then the order blocks here and there. So it was a lot. So now I can delete these. I want to maintain these levels, so I can leave them there. Now I can delete this, and yeah, delete that. Now let's go to H4. So first daily. So daily time frame, this is a break of structure, delete it. So we have a break of structure right there. In fact, leave it there. This is where we see the break of structure. And if I go to H4 daily, I'm sort of looking for a sell, looking at how, weekly, I'm sort of looking for a sell, looking at how this weekly candle started. Yeah, so looking at daily time frame, remember today is the second day, so that's when even the week started. So yesterday's candle was an inverted hammer right there, signifying sells to come in. So you can clearly see why we need sells. If we go to H4 on the other hand, still the same thing, we see sells. And now I want to take off these ones right about there. So we've reached some sort of a resistance. So I can draw this right about there. We've reached some sort of a support level right there. So all we can anticipate now from such a level before it gives us a change of character on H4 is just a pullback, probably back to such a fair value gap. I remember some time back I told you BTC reacts more on fair value gaps than even order blocks. Yeah, BTC reacts mostly on fair value gaps than order blocks, and we've seen a lot of examples to support that. So something that I've anticipated on H4, you can see where we are. Yes, it hasn't reached yet the retracement level on CCI, but we may not focus on that. We are looking at this confluence area, prices holding it up, unless we get some weird momentum to break and come to this fair value gap. Unless it gets some weird momentum and breaks that level purely and then comes to that fair value gap, for it then it goes into the buys. So this is what I can anticipate right now according to H4. According to H1, clearly you see we are oversold already, meaning it is supporting the buys, but it may sort of get a week. When the New York session opens, we may see a long wick candle that can push here and then immediately get back into buys. We may see that or not, but from what we see here, this is shown as a strong low, but it can easily be broken to come to this fair value gap, because we've seen we have a fair value gap on H4 right about there. That is liquidity to be grabbed and then go ahead to look for a new high, and we'll be anticipating a failure for a new creation of a new high, and then we can come in with a sell to reach the breaker block. Remember, on the daily time frame we have that as our breaker block, same as weekly time frame, that is the same level we have our breaker block. Then we can anticipate buys to continue before this week ends. Yeah, before this week ends. So for now, I believe we have two ways we are going to see this. Either we're going to see price react to here like that, or we're going to see price get out from there to come, and it can even continue if it has enough momentum to break that, because we clearly see that is a weak high right there. It can easily be broken and we continue with the buys just like we need, because the general trend is a buy. We just saw a break of structure. So, but like I told you, when price gives us a break of structure, it normally comes back to test it to give us now in this kind of a trend we have a higher high according to daily time frame and a weekly time frame. So since it has given us a break of structure and it has given us a new higher high, we anticipate that it will come back to this breaker block to give us a higher low before we can anticipate continuation of the buys or the uptrend. So that is why we are anticipating that the sell has to come through. So now that we know that, then we can come to H1, wait for this kind of a move to reach here. If it reaches and grabs liquidity on this fair value gap, that will be our perfect entry for the buys to push us back there, as long as it gives you a confirmation, because it can easily break this and even continue depending on the momentum, and then continue, touches the, grabs liquidity on the breaker block, and then we get back into the buys. So you will forgive me of the many lines that I'm drawing, because these are all possibilities in the market. Since we are not market movers and we are market followers, we can only anticipate from what we are seeing. We can only, yes, this is being seen as a strong low. That's why we're anticipating sales from that level before we can come in with, buys from that level before we can come in with sales. But this is BTC. It can easily get liquidity anytime, any minute, and then push all the way down below for the what? For the sell. So that's what I'll be anticipating for now. That is what I'll be anticipating for now. All right, I think that's clearly it. It's something that we know the price. If you are looking at investing, be sure to wait for BTC to come all the way back to 100 and all the way back to, let me get the exact points, around 100 and like 111, yeah, like 111k, 111k around there. Be sure to, yeah, around the 111. Be sure that if you want to invest, you can wait for price to come back again here, and then you can enter your buys again and take this kind of profit all the way from all the way there to top and move out of the market. This is enough profit if you get a clean entry. This can be a good profit for you from all the way here to reach that previous high and move out of the market. That can easily be achieved if you be patient. All right, I think now that's it. I want to remind you guys that we have several programs that are already running. We have the Signal platform, where you can of course subscribe and every month for $15 and be part of the group that receives filtered signals every day, Monday to Friday, and looking at several assets. I don't normally give the signal for BTC. BTC I normally analyze only and share the screens, but then we analyze all these other assets. We analyze gold, we analyze all these other assets like Crash 500. We analyze Crash 500. We analyze Boom 1000. We analyze Boom 500. We analyze Volatility 25 oneness. We analyze Volatility 75. We analyze Jump 50. We analyze Jump 50. We also do analyze Jump 25. Okay, actually, like on this case on Jump 50, we are already in with the signals. That's why you can see it is in profits, but it's likely to do a retest and then before it continues with the buy. But we know it's going to continue with buys. And then we analyze J25, and I think J25 is almost giving us a signal to sell, so we can wait for that also. We also analyze J10 or jump 10. Yeah, we are still waiting for it to give us an entry for the continuation of sales, because we know it's going to continue with sales. Yeah, that's clearly it. That's some of these assets that we use. We analyze or trade besides BTC. So you can always join the VIP signal platform and be part of us. The number to use is there, but of course, if you happen to want to learn the way we analyze, the way I analyze, then you can always subscribe. Register for the class. Apparently, the July class is underway. We are doing it, so we are already in the July class, so it means you can now subscribe for the August class, because it's now too late for you to join the July class. If you can and if you want to, you can use that number there. And of course, the fee is there, $110. But of course, if you want a one-on-one, you want to ask more questions, and you want to, of course, have your own time of the class determined by you, then you pay $300 for that kind of a setup for your class. Otherwise, I want to wish you guys a good day. Or let's do the recap on BTC, then we can call it a day. So we've said clearly that we are going to look for we have many ways we made a higher high, so this is where we started from. According to weekly time frame, we broke structure, and now we have a new higher high right there. This is where we have a break of structure. Yeah, this is where we have a break of structure. Since last year in October, we had not seen any break of structure, so this is where we have a break of structure. So for now, what we are currently anticipating is a retest. Since we have a new higher high, we just anticipating a retest to the breaker broke, and then continue with an uptrend. But here we have a confluence area, and price can easily break it and continue down straight, or it can first come to grab this liquidity on this fair value gap and then retest back and then come in again with the sales, or it can easily react from this confluence area and immediately go back up and break structure again. So you need to be just patient with it. I don't advise you to go to M15 to look for how you can enter it. Just wait for probably H1 to give you an entry, but right about now there's no business here until probably New York session opens, which is about to open in about an hour and a half. Yeah, about an hour and a half or 2 hours for the New York session to begin, and then we can wait and see what will happen to this BTC. But as far as it is concerned, we are still in an uptrend, and we are likely to make this money this time. I think let me see, when did I last trade this asset? When did I last make an entry? Okay, that was okay, it was actually last week but one. Yeah, last week but one. That's when I last made an entry. Yeah, in June actually. I last made an entry in June. So, and I took some profits. Oh, that was taken out. I last made profits right here. This was a loss here, this was a profit there, and all these are profits right about there. So of course that is daily. If I go to H4, we can clearly see that, oh, this was not even a loss. This is the one which was a loss. So this was a win. This was a win there. This was all these were small entries that I immediately closed, I believe. So yeah, I'm always skeptical to enter and hold gold BTC for long, but I think this time I'm about to get into and hold for some good time. All right, let me wish you guys a good day. See you on Friday for the BTC analysis. But of course, we are always here every day analyzing all these other assets, like you've already seen, the booms, the crash, the volatilities, the jumps, and all these other assets that we have in our docket. So let me wish you guys a good day. See you tomorrow for the synthetics, but of course for the BTC, that will be on Friday. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.